you can buy like cool gear that I've kind of designed in the description below, and new designs are coming. I'm in the office right now, a little small little office space I have, and cool videos coming up for you on a really cool move, and so many things I want to share with you. But today is something special. I know you've asked a lot of questions about, where's my travel plans? How did I get started traveling? Spirituality, what I've learned about life. And a lot of those questions have come in the comments from you. But more importantly, some of the deeper questions I get are in emails and direct messages on Instagram, which I can't, well, I mean, if I gave all of my time, I could probably respond to everyone. So what I decided to do is I did I think it's an amazing interview with someone by the name of Tracy. She's a really awesome person. And by the way, she has descriptions and she has a special discount for all of you guys who are watching this below as well. But we did an interview and I wanted to really point it out and share this with you because there's a lot of things you don't know. A lot of things in this interview, not only did Tracy ask me questions that I haven't really been asked, but I answered things that I haven't really answered publicly, and you can hear by the cracking of my voice. I haven't really answered them publicly or talked about publicly. So it's my hope that in this interview, you get some amazing value. My goal is always to empower you. I want you to go out there and just create the best life that you can have, and then run into me one day and be like, yo, Luke, I'm here doing this, like so many of you guys do, especially if you've been in the Canggu area lately, you know who you are. And it's just such an amazing feeling. So enjoy this interview. I'm off to the gym right now. Got some really cool videos coming out for you a little bit later, but I wanted to share this because there's so much value in it. And by the way, there might be a few language things in here if you're watching with your kids. I know some of you watch with your kids, but it's really me speaking from my heart on everything from travel to life to family to spirituality, and I hope that it benefits you so much. I'm off to the gym. I hope you enjoy today. And if you're new around here, know you're always welcome here, just like everyone who's always around here. Off to the gym. See you guys. Enjoy today's interview.
Hey Luke, how are you doing today? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning from a very and good evening for you on the
Yeah,
other side of the world.
we are a 12-hour difference.
Yeah.
And where are you located in the world?
In Bali, Indonesia. Little small little place that everyone is trying to get to right now, but they happen to be closed. So I feel for the world. I'm trying to share as much as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do. And I think this is why we've connected because I actually found you through YouTube a couple months ago. You have this amazing YouTube channel that has given me, no, really, you do. Like it's given me so
Mm.
much comfort and solace and inspiration and positivity that you bring to it. And so just tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel and what
Mhm.
got you started with that.
Yeah, well, the name Luke Life Charms came because I just was trying to, like most people, maybe you're doing something in your life and you're like, I want to do more. Like something happens, there's always some kind of catalyst in your life, and you're like, I want to do more than this. I know I can do more. I know there's more for me to do. And I couldn't figure out what that was. And I just had to try a bunch of different things. And someone just suggested to me, as most of the time will happen, to just be a little seed someone plants. It can be 5, 10 years in the past. And it was just like, you should just do like a blog or a vlog or something. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start sharing YouTube videos. And so, I mean, if I just summarize it really quick, is I just was like, well, let me just share my experience. Everyone wants to know why I'm happy and how I stay smiling and all this all the time. And they're like, is it real? I'm like, yeah, I'll show you how. And I started by just saying, I'm just gonna record videos on my phone and post them. And then someone came to me and said, Luke, these videos are great, but like, what makes them so different from someone else?
Hmm.
Like, what makes what you say someone can just look at it and repeat it? And as something that, if all you listen to the podcast can look up Jesse Itzler, he's Sarah Blakely's husband. He always says, what makes your brownie special? Meaning that who you are, what makes it special? And I thought about that and I was like, well, what makes it special is I kind of outgoing, I walk around, I kind of do this stuff, but I was like, well, let me get a good camera and then I'll just walk to a place and film. And I looked up on the internet like a camera, and there was this camera that popped up, Canon G7X. And this guy, I don't even know who he was. He was a Canadian. And since this time, I've reached out to him and told him thank you. But he's just like, this is the best camera if you want to really record video. Casey Neistat said that this is the best, and he's the master of cameras. And I was like,
who is Casey Neistat? Like, who is this guy? And why is he the master of cameras? And it shows you that curiosity is very powerful. It's something that is often suppressed as we grow up. And it's just do what you're told, look at this. And it's like, I've never lost that curiosity, which is what I think traveling can be so amazing. So I use that curiosity and be like, well, let me look up Casey Neistat. And it showed himself being a vlogger. And he showed all these videos. And I was like, oh, that's what can make my brownie special. Is I'm living in the south of France. I walk around all the time. I have all this free time, and I can share and empower people, because that was what my goal, that was my North Star, was to try to share and show people how to do this as well. And from that point on, one of the biggest things people struggle with is a name. And I couldn't think of a name. I didn't want to use like Luke Fitzgerald. And my friends was like, just do Luke Charms or Luke Life something. I was like, all right, Luke Life Charms sounds great. And I'm like, no one's going to remember that. Like, it's a hard name. But at that time, I was reading a book called Total Recall by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And one of his biggest fears why Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't even go to the States, because he said no one would ever be able to say my name. He's like, no one would ever be able to pronounce my name. Mm-hmm. So he's just like, that almost held him back from leaving Austria to come to the States. And now everyone can say Arnold Schwarzenegger's name. And that's when I hit my mind, like, the name is what's stopping me. I got to just go. People will know Luke Life Charms. And that was like this belief I had before I even saw anything. And from that point on, I just didn't overthink it. I just put out videos, and I was like, people are going to watch it one day. And that's kind of the premise of how it started.
Yeah. And you have a lot of videos out there, whether they're short or a little bit longer. And it's something that really caught my eye with your videos, especially in the beginning, was that, and you still do it to this day, but is that you really do make it as raw as possible. Like, you don't edit too much, because I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you really want to make the person watching feel like they're there with you, and you really achieve that. And your energy just exudes through the videos. And so
Thank you.
If people wanted to find you, what would they type into YouTube?
Luke Life Charms is probably the most interesting one. As you type that in, you'll see a bunch: Luke Life Charms Poland, Luke Life Charms Bali, Luke Life Charms Bulgaria, and then just kind of choose where you want to go that day. And then just click it. But Luke Life Charms is the name.
Luke Life Charms. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I must say, I'm glad that you noticed about the rawness of it. That's something that's really important, especially in the society that we live in. And it's one reason in this podcast, I love how it's just raw and out there, because that's what life is. Life is raw, and life is up and downs, and life is mistakes, and life is losing your train of thought or losing track of what you're trying to say. And when you edit that part out, people all of a sudden, and the reason why people do it is they want to come off as perfect, but perfect for me now, through what I've learned in my life, is the lowest standard. So being perfect makes you feel like it makes you relatable, like people will like me then, but it actually makes you unrelatable. And it also makes other people think that they can't do what you do because how perfect you make it seem. And if that's what your goal is, to be perfect, then I think most people will never say that they're perfect at anything, So you actually you self-sabotage yourself chasing something that there's no way you can ever achieve. So by trying to make things unperfect and showing it raw, and there was times when I wanted to edit it and I was like, wow, this edit is too nice. This camera's too nice. I did such a great job. I'm like, I got to do something to make this seem more real. Like, I got to trip, or I got to make the camera almost fall. Or I got to keep in some kind of crazy edit. So people are like, oh, this guy, he does put his pants on one leg at a time. He's not just this like superhuman thing, and just saying the emotion that really clicks to people. I realize it's a little hack. Being like, guys, I'm recording this podcast. I'm a little bit tired. Didn't sleep so well last night, but I'm excited to be here. People relate to that. Jumping on a stage, like when I do a talk, the first thing I always say is like, guys, I'm super nervous to be in front of you all talking right now. And that instantly makes the pressure off of me and makes the people watching to be like, yeah, I can imagine being on that stage and being nervous. And all of a sudden, we've made a connection off of true, like really like, yeah, I'm nervous. And
yes. And you're so good at it, but it's like, you don't even have to try, because you're just being yourself. And we need more people like you to just be authentically free in their spirit, to be open, to be like, hey, listen, any judgment that anyone is projecting onto me has nothing to do with me. It literally,
I love it.
projection of
That's beautiful.
going on with them and their inner world. So, you know, you are literally like a permission slip. You give people that
Mm,
permission to be like, nothing else matters. What you
yes.
feel, what you perceive, and how you move through the world is what matters, because that's what's going to make an impression on people.
Yeah, you said it so perfect. And I can hear just in your voice how calm you are, that you embody that, because like, how can you be so calm? Everything's going on in the world. I'm like, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Like nothing. And when you really realize that, I mean, I'm sure you can think of this, like you just feel free. Someone
Yep.
can say, hey, this is the worst interview I've ever heard. You're like, well, I'm sorry, whatever's going on in your life, hope you're okay.
Yeah.
Something to do with me. It has nothing to do with the body.
Um,
It's all about them. Their inner world projected. So I love that.
I love that. And you know, it's taken me a long time to realize that. And even now and then I'll still have slip ups, of course, but I'll know to
Yeah.
pull myself back in and be like, wait, hold on, like don't let the ego take over. Um, but we're all human and it's okay. It's okay to have slip ups, but just know that, you know, you have the power to absolutely choose how you feel in every moment, no matter what anyone says to you, no matter how they react, no matter what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
don't give them your power,
exactly.
you
Keep
know?
your power. I love it. And
Exactly.
you said you said it perfect. Like it's okay to slip up. But when you really look at society, it's not okay to slip up. It's not okay to miss a day at work. Like it's not okay to miss a question on a test. Like that's what we're like conditioned at when we're in that genius phase from 0 to 7, and really from 0 to 12, because we really just follow what is fun. And as we grow up, we just kind of goes out the window, like fun. What's fun for us? Like traveling used to be fun, for some people, but traveling stopped being fun for a lot of people, and it just was an escape. And escaping the life that they have was fun,
Mm,
but it was more focused on the escape. Because when you're focused on, like a child focuses on playtime. If you tell the child they have 5 minutes or 10 minutes to play, the child is focused for 10 minutes, 100% on playing. Now, if adult says, okay, you got 10-minute break to do whatever you want, the whole time the 10 minutes were like, man, we got to go back to work in 10 minutes. Man, this is not enough time. How can they just give us this? And you're just like, wait, what? And
they're
it's just
too in
different.
their head, they're not in their body enough, they're not realizing like, okay, this is my time, this is for me, there's nothing to worry about, just live in the present moment, you know?
Absolutely.
And
100%.
I just love how the conversation like turned into that like so soon, and I love that. And I do want to incorporate travel in the mix with all this too, because this is one of the big reasons why I reached out to you, because um I just feel like travel has it just seems like travel has fulfilled you so
Mhm.
much, so many different ways. And so I was just wondering, what are some aspects of travel that you believe shaped you into who you are
Mm.
today? Like, is there anything that really stands out?
Yeah, I think maybe the number one thing that stands out to me is how it shaped my perception of what I thought was true.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you grow up, like the easiest example that I use is growing up in Cleveland. Like I remember I've been gone for 20 years almost from Cleveland. And in that time, averaging maybe 2 or 3 weeks there a year since that time period. But I
Mhm.
can remember very vividly growing up, and 10 minutes in the winter of my morning was shoveling snow. Like 10 minutes was shoveling snow. That's what I did. I shoveled snow so my parents could get out the driveway. Then we moved, and that was like 20 minutes shoveling, and then shoveling it again so they could come back in the night. And my mindset, if I stay in that world, is okay, I'm gonna get stronger. And when I get older, I'm gonna hire someone to shovel the snow, even though I hate it. And I'm gonna have money and I'm gonna buy a nice coat so then I could deal with the cold, even though I don't like it. And I have all these beliefs, and you start to plan your life around the snow. Winter's coming, I gotta do this. And what's amazing though is when you travel, you realize, you mean there's a place that I can go where it doesn't snow? And imagine how that shifts your perspective on life. So
Mhm.
now instead of all your energy being like, I can't deal with that, like I don't want to deal, like you're just like, like I wish my parents have said, like, when you get older, you can move to a place where it never snows. And just implementing that in someone's head as a child makes them see beyond and changes their perspective completely. And one thing I love doing when I meet people or I talk to people is I love dropping that seed of just like, well, you know, like my favorite thing to drop in people's minds is, well, what do you want?
Mhm.
You know, people usually nowadays, people meet me and they come to me with questions. Every message that I get, if I get 100 messages, 75 of them are questions. And they're like, should I move to Bali? What do you think about this? And the question's like, well, what do you want? And that plants a seed of them to water. Like, well, I don't know what I want. Like, well, you have all the possibilities out there. Like, and I think a lot of times what we do is we get so stuck in our world that where we're from, the religion we're in a sense, our dogma. And traveling, what it does is, like, for example, I was raised with one religion and culture, but then I come here and I'm like, wait a minute, you can just sit on the side of the street and eat. Like, I can wear sandals every single day. Like, if I do this back in my culture, it's like, well, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? Especially with the American culture, the whole the bigger car and then the bigger house, and you get caught in this. And then when you step out of that world, you come to Asia, for example, Southeast Asia, which is the total polar opposite. You realize that the people here are working for $400 a month, happy, they're laughing, there's no stress at work. Like, they lay down on their phones with their feet up on the kitchen, like, because no one's there, they're taking a nap. You go into the restaurant like, hey, excuse me, and they wake up and they come and make your food. Like, you're like, wow. In the States, and because of that perspective, now no matter what happens, you change and you become more open. You become more open to what's going on. And I think that when you start to open your mind like that, it opens it in different perspectives, because then you become addicted to talking to people who have a different perspective. Sometimes if you talk to someone and they're so closed-minded, like, no, you have to do it like this. Like, you have to go to college, you have to do this. And it's like, well, what about the billionaires who didn't? And people don't think like that. Sometimes they're so stuck in their way, and travel opens that up because you see every possibility. You meet people who worked all their life and retired at 70, and now they come overseas to live and enjoy their life. And you meet someone at 19 who had $700 saved up and then just bought a one-way flight. And you see this, and then all of a sudden that spectrum changes, and you're like, wait a minute, well, what do I want? Do I want to wait till I'm 65 to start enjoying my life, or do I want to just do it now with this $800 that I have?
Yeah.
And that's the huge shift, I believe.
Yeah, there definitely is a programming that happens when you grow up. Honestly, I think more so in the States than a lot of other places, with this American dream that everyone talks about. And as that being an American dream, it's like, okay, well, if you're born in America and you are American, then you have to have that same dream. It's like, no. What if I don't want kids? What if I don't want to get married? What if I don't want a white picket fence in front of my house? What if I literally am so much of a free spirit that it takes me around the world, and that's even more fulfilling?
Exactly.
Ain't nothing wrong with that in my book, you know?
100%. I love that.
It's yeah, and you said something that stood out to me was the phrase, like, close-minded. That's just it. Like, people are too close-minded with that stuff. It's like, okay, I understand, like, you know, your mom might have wanted you to do something specific in your career because she didn't get to do it in hers, and so that's kind of like you filling her dreams through you. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's just because we're family doesn't mean that it needs to be everyone's wishes in one person, you know?
Exactly.
So I definitely vibe with that. And now that we're talking about Bali, I'm actually really excited to ask you some things about Bali, because I've never been. And I really, that's like a bucket list, and I really want to go one day. And I see, oh God, I see gorgeous videos and pictures all the time of Bali, and people just being really happy there. And so I wanted to ask you, like, what are some things you think, because you've been out there for a while, little over a year, right?
Crazy,
Yeah. You've been stationed there for a bit.
Yeah.
what are some things you think make Bali such a spiritual place? Because I heard that it is one of the most spiritual places
Mm.
in the whole world.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, this isn't my. Yeah, I've heard it and I felt that. Um, and this isn't my idea. I realized this as someone pointed it out, and then I'm like, that's what I've been feeling the whole time. The thing that makes Bali so special and such a spiritual place is because Bali is a mirror, and
Mhm.
it amplifies whatever is in that mirror. So if you're a super down to earth, chill, relaxed, want to eat healthy, when you come here, you're gonna be in the best shape of your life. You're gonna go on more walks. You're gonna eat more healthy foods. You're gonna amplify that. If you're an alcoholic, you're gonna come here and you're gonna drink every day at the beach with your surfboard sitting there. If you're someone who loves to give and help out other people, you're going to come here and see that 50 cents feeds a family, like a one person for a day. So you're going to become an ultimate giver. You're going to give so much more. You can feed 20 families a day for the price of what it would cost you to eat at a Western place. But if you're someone who's stingy and someone who's very cheap, then you'll come here and you'll stay in a place for $30 a month. And so it's going to really amplify what it is. So people who are willing to do the work on themselves and willing to be honest with yourself, you have a lot of room to grow. You'll grow because you see, like, wow, I'm being pretty stingy in this area. Or I need to be more open to other people's beliefs. Like, you'll expose people's open-mindedness and you'll expose people's closed-mindedness. And and then it amplifies it in the mirror for you, which
Mm.
is why some people can't stand to stay in Bali, because it's too much to be with themselves. The
Mm.
same reason why people can't stay with themselves in general. Like, it's too much. They need distractions. If anything, 2020 taught us was that when the distractions are taken away, you're forced to sit with your own demons. And if you're not willing to fight them, then you really will almost struggle here.
Mm.
One thing that I work with my clients about, and there's a few, because since I'm living in Bali, they all want to come here. Some of them have been here already. And one thing that I always point out to them is, like, we all ask ourselves questions in our life. We all ask ourselves very similar questions. So there's a popular question everyone asks themselves all the time. Like, man, why is this happening to me? Why is this not enough? Why can't I get it right? Why is this like this? And these are questions that we ask ourselves on repeat. It's a pattern of thinking. And one thing is, when I start with even talking to someone in general, it's like, that's who you are right now. This person with a pattern on repeat. And everyone, because of what you said about spirituality in Bali, they think they come here and they're going to be healed from it. And I'm just like, Bali's going to amplify that. Bali, you're going to be sitting on a beach with a coconut on day number 4, and you're going to be like, why is this happening to me? Why can't I be happy? Why? And now no one will understand you. Now you'll really feel alone, because everyone uses this quote of, I'd rather be crying in my Lamborghini or my private plane than crying on the bus. When I think, if you look at the energetics of that on a human experience level, you wouldn't. You would want to cry in a bus, because if you cry in a bus, people have sympathy for you. People will understand why you're on the bus crying. They'll ask about it. But if I were to pull over my Ferrari on the side of the road and sit there crying, no one would care, because everyone would look at you as like, you have everything. Like, imagine if I just made YouTube videos sitting on the beach crying about the things that are bothering me in my life. No one would take me serious, because there's this image of, like, you're in a perfect place, so you need to be happy. You should be fine. So if you don't do the work almost before, when you come here, it's amplified. Now, when it's amplified, you can deal with it. But people who run away from their problems, it's going to amplify that. You got a
I
lot of places to run away.
I really like that. Actually, I really like the way you said that. The fact that it amplifies, especially problems that you perceive might be problems. Yeah, because I just hear a lot of people, especially young people like us, that go out to Bali to soul search, or, like, to, like, get more
Mhm.
into spirituality. And that's great. Like, go ahead and do that, but just know that you're not escaping anything.
Exactly.
And I really like that you pointed that out, and that everything's just an amplification. Once you do get rid of all those distractions, um, that's just your time to really sit with yourself and
Yeah.
start.
Are you going to face them or not? You going to face
Yeah,
the problems, or? Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's, wow, that's super amazing. And actually saw, I think it was on Instagram maybe the other day. I peeped on your stories real quick. Were you having a ceremony in your backyard? I thought that was so beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. So here in Bali, all of the homes, even modern villas, they all have a temple. So the
Mm,
way that all the homes are set up is there's the temple is always in the center of the home. So
wow.
the way that the floor plans are always made, even in all the villas, if they're built by the Balinese, they're set up like that. And so we have a temple in our yard. So where we live in a place with about 4 villas. And
Wow.
all the staff who works in all these villas, they had a ceremony for Nippy. So Nippy, I'm not sure if you're familiar or your listeners are.
I'm not aware.
So yeah, so I'm gonna try to explain it. I actually am making a video about it today, so I like researched a little bit. I gotta just like counter, like check and make sure that it's right. But Nippy is a day that everything shuts down on the island.
Mm,
So everything. It's the biggest ceremony. I think it's for the Saka New Year for the Hindus. And on this day, they believe that the spirits are flying over the island. So the spirits are flying over the island on this day. So on this day, no one uses electricity. So all the electricity is turned off. All of the 4G towers, the phones don't work, everything's shut down. This year they did keep the Wi-Fi on, but normally they don't. And for example, to show you how big this holiday is, there's no one allowed on the road. Every road is closed in the entire island of Bali. Every road's closed, and at the same time, the airport closes. So you can imagine the airport shuts down, nothing. So
yeah.
there's no emissions in the sky. It's that big of a holiday. But the day before, they go around and they bless the homes. So if we've been in other villas, we were in another villa last year. So what they did is the staff came and they just blessed it. They go around, sprinkle the holy water, and have a little ceremony. I don't understand everything because of course, they're speaking Balinese. And so all the staff from these 4 villas and our staff here who takes care of us, they invited us out with their family. So we kind of sat there and just did a little ceremony to bless the homes. And if anyone checks on my Instagram, I don't know if you can go back to my Instagram to around March
Mm,
14th, you'll see the sky. And the reason why the sky looks so amazing is because on that day, there's no emissions at all. There's not a scooter out on the road. There's not a car driving. Everyone's at home. There's no electricity being used and no flights going over the island.
wow.
So that's why you can see the Milky Way galaxy. You can see everything. And yeah, that was what the ceremony was for. So it was bigger than a ceremony. This was like their New Year's, the equivalent to the American like New Year's,
Yeah. Wow.
Bali
That's
style.
cool. Yeah, Bali style for sure. It seems like a very different life over there.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow. Cool. Well, I love that, and I will be continue doing my research on Bali, and that includes just keeping up with your YouTube channel because you just give so much valuable information. And I actually like that when you do film, you take us along with you, and you actually do show
Hmm.
where you are. You like, yeah, is
Yeah,
it like B-roll? Yeah, like you
yeah.
the camera.
Just trying to show where I'm filming. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it just seems so like fresh there, like fresh air. I noticed I was watching your video the other day, and I just kept saying to myself like, the grass is so vibrant and green. It's
Yeah,
so bright and beautiful, and just looks so healthy and vibrant and alive. And I'm like, if the plants are like that, then the people have to be like that too. I was like, oh my
absolutely.
gosh,
And
yeah.
the people is the number one reason to come here.
Mm.
Forget about the
Yes.
nature and all that, the palm trees. And after we finish recording, I'll show you outside of here where I'm staying and you can
Yeah.
see. But I mean, the people are so kind and nice and so grateful. Like they live in a state of gratitude. Every morning they put out offerings. The Hindus, which is most of the people on the island, they put out offerings every single morning and
Mm.
give gratitude. Sometimes we'll come out and I'll be taking my scooter in the morning. There'll be just an offering on my scooter with like an incense stick burning because they stay in the state of gratitude. So if there's one thing that I've learned from all the programs I've taken, all the things that I've done throughout 2020, everything, Tony Robbins has been a big influence on me. It's living in that state of gratitude,
Yeah.
because when you're in that state of gratitude, you can't be mad, you can't be angry, you can't take things for granted.
Yeah.
And the people here live in that state. They don't have, when I first got here, sometimes I call it putting on your glasses. So everywhere you go, I tell people like just sometimes throw on your little American glasses. So if you're an American, you put your American glasses on, you'd be like, what on earth? They live in a shack. They don't have anything. This place looks dirty.
Yeah.
And then if you put those glasses on, but then you really look closer. You look in the back, you see this lady who's working in this one little wooden hut. She's back there with her child. She's playing with her kid. They're laughing and joking. Maybe they have 1 or 2 clients that day, but they're laughing. They're having a great time. They're not making a lot of money. Some of them don't make anything, but they
Right.
live in this state of gratitude. I get to spend this time with my family. Like, I'm alive. And you feel that energy. And a lot of people who don't want to stay in that attitude, that have to be someone who Bali would almost like kick out. Bali would almost reject it because you'd be so tired of people just being happy all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
And
yeah.
do you think it's because of like those distractions and the stimulation is taken away from them because they've had more time to really connect with themselves? Because a lot of the times, especially in the Western world, like people will hear be grateful, like just like think of the things you're grateful about. And then a lot of the times people will do it, but they'll be like, yeah, but I still feel unhappy. I'm still triggered by that. I'm still annoyed by that. Is it simply just because of the energy over there and that there is so much taken away that there's just pure peace to feel that gratitude?
Well, I think that it's just the focus. Your focus equals your feeling. So people, whatever you focus on, if I focus on how hot it is right now, I could be pretty annoyed here at Bali right now. But if I focus on how beautiful it is outside, now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, that's amazing. And now I'm like, well, let me just go inside because it's a little hot. But people can shift their focus instantly. That's what determines how you feel. So a lot of people here, they focus on their family. They focus on being together. They focus on working, but working doesn't run their life. They work all the time and they've integrated that into their life. So when they work, they're with their kids at work. They're laughing and joking at their work. Like there's no rules and this is when you work and this is when you're done working. And most of the time when people are done working, they're dreading going to work the next day. Here, they've done something that I realized I've never seen in any other culture where they just implement it into their life. So they'll have their home, but in front of their home is their little stand where you can buy water and coffee. And you'll show up. I pulled up sometimes if I want a coconut, and there's no one there. And I just wait. I honk my horn. They come out the house in their pajamas, like eating, and they just like, oh, coconut. I'm like, yeah. They give it. I pay. And they go back inside with their kid running around in the background. We don't have that in the States, and even in Europe, it's not even so prevalent. In Eastern Europe, I've seen it. But here, there's such a bond with family and just they've integrated like their life design with their work.
Yeah.
Even though it's a weird combination of how you can implement both together. But I mean, I think the most happy people do that. They're having fun. They're laughing. They're joking. They're always smiling. I don't think I've ever seen them not smiling.
Yeah. That's something that you always make a point of in your videos is that the people are always smiling. And obviously that has to be contagious.
Yeah. And yeah, of course. And you're just like, how? I remember getting here being so confused because when you see that, and before I came here, I'm living in Europe and I traveled all around. So when someone's smiling, it's like, oh, they want me to buy something. I'm a Western. They do that. But then I started to look more closely and I'm like, wait a minute, they're laughing with each other. Like they laugh with each other. They're just laughing all the time. I'll go to the markets, like, I take some Tony Robbins programs and they're all reverse time here. So the programs, like I'm taking a program Business Mastery coming up this week, and it starts at 11 p.m. until 3 p.m. So it's the entire night, the next morning and afternoon. And during these breaks, like we'll have maybe a 20-minute break, I get on my scooter and ride around. So I'll ride around 2:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. These are when the breaks are. And I remember, like, this was the first time I did it was maybe 4 months ago. And I rode around, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and they're setting up the market already. And they're just laughing like crazy.
Wow.
And I stopped the scooter and just looked at them like, it's 3 in the morning. They're setting up these tables and they have fish and they're all laughing. They just integrated. And it's just like, that's who they are. Most people feel like they have to laugh and they have to do something to laugh. Like, you ever had someone, and maybe your listeners can relate to this, where you have someone and like, what are you smiling for? What are you laughing for?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you need a reason for?
I'm sorry. Is that a bad thing? Is that making you uncomfortable? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they need a reason. There has to be a reason, like, for it. And it's like, no, I'm just smiling. That's all.
Yeah.
And that's what they do here.
Oh, that is so cool. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
learning about other cultures. And I want to take a moment and transition and talk a little bit about solo travel in particular.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really, really big thing in this day and age right now. And as we know, travel alone, just in general, can be so impactful.
Hmm.
A lot of times people will have life transforming experiences. But
Yeah,
what is it about solo travel? Because I know you solo traveled a lot. What is it
yeah.
about solo travel that that is just so expansive for the soul? And I just
Mm.
actually want to reiterate, because I did not say expensive. I said
Yeah,
expansive, because
yeah.
it definitely can be affordable if you find ways around it. So why is it so expansive for the soul, you think?
Yeah, well, solo travel is, I think it's amazing and one of the best things and most challenging things you can do because, and free things that you can do. And it could be free if you want it to be in a physical sense, but it's free because you're forced to be with yourself. When you travel, I have so many examples, but Ukraine just keeps coming to my mind because that was the first country that I went to where it's Cyrillics. I've been to Greece, but I can kind of understand, but it's Cyrillic. So you can't even, Cyrillics is like the alphabet, the Russian alphabet. So you can look at a sign and you don't know what anything is. You don't know what a letter is or anything.
Oh my God.
And you'll show up. And I remember showing up, and that's when I'm just like, that's the power of solo travel because it's not like I can look at someone like, so what are we going to do next? Which train platform are we on? It's like, no, you have to ask yourself. Now you have to ask yourself these questions, and you have to get yourself to empower yourself to figure out how are we going to do this. Like I missed my flight. Like I've been this one plenty of times. Rome, I went to the wrong airport,
Oh my
and
God.
it's like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You're by yourself. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit here and get irritated? You're going to get mad at the train station for selling you the wrong ticket? What are you going to do? And now it's just like you see what you have inside of you that you're not challenged with when you're in your normal habitat.
Yeah.
You're not challenged to when you're at home. Like if I tap someone, I call it zombie mode. But if I were to close your eye, like cover your eyes and say, walk me through the day, you're like, okay, we're going to drive out here, turn right. You could probably do it, you know. But when you're in another country, you can't. You're stimulated by so many things. Like I remember being in Bangkok and just being like, where am I? And you're on your own. So you have to lean on yourself. And there's very few instances in your normal life where that comes to because you can just ask someone for help.
Mhm.
Like I can just say, hey, where do I go? But now when you're in a foreign country, you don't speak the language, you can't read any of the letters. Now you have to dig deep. You have to pull out your creativeness that people don't have. I have an example from this morning. I was buying some fruit here. It's called Sabo is the name of it. And it's like a kiwi, a Balinese kiwi is my favorite fruit. And I didn't know the price. So I'm like, what's the price? And I'm like, how much is the price? And she spent about 30 seconds looking for her calculator and trying to pull up to show me the price. And then finally it took time. And I was like, that's so interesting. And I was like, I could tell they haven't traveled a lot because that they just wasted a lot of time. When you've traveled a long time, you realize like you can just hold up how many fingers. I don't know how many fingers the price is. Like, what is it? 2, 0, 3, what? But it's
Right.
like we go to like our comfort. And I think when you solo travel and it's taken away, you learn about yourself. You learn ways to communicate. You learn ways, which is the whole reason I got into coaching, is you learn ways to solve problems. It's all about solving problems. That's it. It's not
Yeah.
about anything else. Once
Hmm.
you can solve problems, it doesn't matter what problem comes. You know how to solve it.
That's
So that would be
definitely,
one of the most expensive.
I like that. And I actually resonate with that because I've solo traveled. And one of the things that really stood out to me the most was as I was navigating my way around a whole nother world, literally, in my eyes,
Yeah.
it I realized that I was building skills, the skill of
Hmm.
confidence and the skill of feeling resourceful, which in itself made me feel confident.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, like, in our day-to-day tasks, like, it's very habitual and we do the same things, and you don't really get to feel that sense of confidence in your ability to problem solve as much when you're in your comfort zone. And I
Yeah.
just think, yeah, I just think it's really empowering, that
Yeah.
resourcefulness of, like, there are so many things that can happen on a trip. You never know what to expect, and that's what makes it exciting, and that's what makes you grow because you're
Yeah.
always in uncertainty, you know?
Yeah.
Always.
Exactly. And the quality of your life is determined by the amount of uncertainty that you can live with. You know, that would be a whole nother conversation. We should probably jump back on another episode and do that, talking about the human needs, because you see
Right.
that people are different, you know. And just if I had to summarize it in 30 seconds, you know, there's the 4 human needs. You know, there's certainty, uncertainty, significance, and love and connection. And the top 2 of those needs is what drives everything that you do. So the thing that solo travel does is it makes you have to change that system. So someone like you, when I talk to anyone, all I do is listen to what their needs are. And that's how I know what's going to drive them. For someone like you, I would love to travel with you, because you can handle uncertainty. It's one of your needs. One of your top needs is uncertainty. But I want you to imagine, and maybe the listeners, while you're listening to this, you guys can imagine as well, someone who is uncertain. Like if me and Tracy are going to travel and we're both uncertain, so we can just jump on a flight. We can do this, no problem. Like we'll figure it out. Like they cancel the hotel. Oh, okay, cool. What are you going to do? Now imagine if you're traveling with someone whose number one need is certainty. Their number one need is certainty. This is like traveling with my parents.
Oh God, same.
I'm like, no, I didn't book the hotel in advance. I didn't plan the taxi. I didn't call the taxi company before. There'll be some way to get to the center. And when you understand that, you're like, oh, solo travel forces you out of that, because you can't be certain of a lot of things. And everything you have planned usually goes off plan. You have to hang out with people. And you said the most magical thing. You said it forced you to be resourceful.
Yeah.
And this is the key to everything. It's what I try to tell everyone that I say. I'm like, you're never out of resources. Everyone feels like, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough this or that. That's a resource. And you never lack it. You can lack a resource, but you never lack you lack resourcefulness. That's the truth. Because although maybe you don't have the money to solo travel, I bet you could do something. A sponsorship, you could have your friends like, hey, everyone, I'm gonna travel for 100 days. Would you like to do, like you could, if you really wanted to, you could travel. Everyone could do it full time. They could reach out to every organization that sponsors travels. They could trade. I met people who travel with no money. Like I met travelers, I met a couple traveling in Ukraine. They were on their way to Russia. And I was like, what are you going to Russia for? They're like, yeah. And they had a knife. They were sharpening a knife in the hostel. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, we're off to Russia. And I was like, what do you have a knife for? They're like, well, because we have a week's worth of food, but the train is 9 days. And I was like, yeah? He's like, yeah, and we're going to stop halfway through in camp, but we don't have food. So we're going to have to hunt. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah. I was like, you can buy food. He's like, no, we don't travel with money. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, we have this and this. This is what we do. He's like, we just do work away. There's places where you can go and work and exchange your time. There's a million ways.
Yeah.
But that's something you don't find. People won't be resourceful enough for that. The resourcefulness is what determines what you can do.
I love this conversation so much, because that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to just mention, because this is going to be the first time I say this to you and my listeners, and it's very exciting. So I'm sure you've heard of WOOF, right? The organization WOOF, WWOF.
No.
Cool. So it's actually like Workaway.
Okay.
Workaway, but WOOF is an acronym that stands for Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. So it's basically it's basically like Workaway, only and it's worldwide, but right now I'm just doing it in the States. And it's basically this like volunteering opportunity to go on all these different farms and just give your time in exchange for free housing and free food. And so
amazing.
I'm really excited, because I actually got accepted to 2 different places that I will be thank you. I will be leaving next month, and I will so I'm in Florida right now, and I'm actually going to be going to California, Northern California, and I'll be volunteering at a wellness retreat there, which obviously like that's like probably a dream for me, right? And then I'm going to be doing that for 2 months, and then after that I'm going to be going up to Washington State and volunteering on a goat farm. So I'm just like,
that's so amazing,
so happy like that I finally just made the decision to do full-time travel, because I eventually found out with all the research I've been doing that it is so possible. It's possible. And if it's possible, and it's what you love to do, and it's what your soul's calling you to do, then do it. And I just didn't want to sit back anymore. And I said, I need a change. And I wasn't planning on staying in Florida for long anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so as of April 7th, 2021,
Ooh,
I am
okay.
starting my full-time travel lifestyle, and I'm super stoked about it.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm so excited for you to get to California, because I'm guessing it might be the first night or maybe the second or third night you're gonna just have a moment. And this is true of you listeners as well, when you take this big leap, when you're gonna not believe it's real, but then you're gonna believe it's real. You have to believe it's real.
Oh yeah.
But you're gonna be like, what took me so long to do this?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if you know this about me, but I lived in California for 5 years. I was in Los Angeles. And so I was in Los Angeles, which means I was in Southern California, but I never saw the northern part. And I always wanted to go there when I lived there, but I never got a chance. So now I'm all the way on the other side of the country, and I found that opportunity again, and I'm taking it. It's just like there's always a way back. If like there's never like what's the phrase? Oh, I'm too it's too late, or I missed out. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you can
It's all in the mind.
it's all in the mind.
It's always in
All in the mind.
yeah.
So I'm going back.
That's amazing.
Really excited. Yeah.
It's and it's all about that desire. Like, but if you have to think about it, if I just give you a quick energetics explanation, because I love the energetics of things.
Please. We're all here on Empowered Embodiment.
Yeah.
Yes,
absolutely. And the energetics was your desire. Your desire was strong. Your desire outweighed your fear, which is what it's the fear that makes people not do that. It's your desire, and you saw it, and like, this is what I want to do. And although there's fear, that desire to want to know more about yourself, to have a better life, that desire trumped that fear. So anything that you want to do in life, you have a desire for it, but there's also a fear. They both come hand in hand. You can never do nothing without fear. Like, there's fear there. You can either walk with the fear or you walk away with the fear. Means if you're scared to pet a dog, you can either pet the dog while you're scared and conquer it, or you can walk away and for the rest of your life, you'll be scared to pet a dog.
right.
It's the same thing. But once that desire trumps it, then you realize, like, wait a minute, like, that was scary, but I have a desire for that. And then that gives you more, that builds that trust muscle in yourself, because, and at the same time, you have to deal with a lot of uncertainty. So it's about discerning, like, uncertainty, I can live with the uncertainty of leaving and up and traveling. And what maybe you didn't even realize, and what maybe your listeners don't realize, is that when you do that, if it fails, if you have this huge desire to travel the world and you just have $500 and you just buy a one-way ticket, even if it fails, you will never regret that decision. It might be one of the most powerful decisions you ever make of your entire life, because you did it through fear and you just said, I don't care, and you went straight through it. You can always go back to your home and work. You can always find somewhere to sleep for cheap. You can always work at McDonald's, but you can't always just pack up and travel. And the example that I give to people, and I'll keep it really short, is, my grandma knows that I travel, and she's like 90, so she doesn't really understand everything, and she knows I'm always gone. And I was trying to tell her, like, I love traveling. And I went home for 2 weeks before I came here to Asia. I traveled in Europe for almost a year. Then I came home for just 2 weeks before I would fly here to Asia and be here for over a year. And every day she was like debating with me, like, what do you do that for? You don't want to just stay at home? I was like, no. And every day she saw me come back home, there's a store called REI, and they sell all outdoor gear. So every day I'd come home with a pair of outdoor shoes because I replaced all my gear. I'd come home with a big bag, like an Osprey bag. I travel with an Osprey 40 or Osprey 37 liter bag, because you can put it on top of the plane, you don't have to check it. And she sees me do this, and she knows I'm leaving the next day. And something cracked in her when she was like, he's actually going. And she's just like, because I would bring her coffee and an egg McMuffin every morning, and we'd sit and talk. And she was just like, Luke, she's like, I'm proud that you're doing this. I was like, Grandma, we have coffee every single morning, and I bring you egg McMuffin, and you've always been talking me out of it. And I'm like, I do it. She's like, honey, you can do it. You're young. Aww. And this is a whole different side. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, she's like, you're. And my grandma sleeps in another room, which is only about, for us, it would take us like 10 seconds to get in there. She's like, for me to come in here, Luke, she's like, it took me 4 Tylenols to get out of bed and walk over here. She's like, my knees can't do it. She's like, my body can't do it anymore. She's like, so I'm glad you do it when you're young. And that was our last in-person conversation before I flew to Bangkok. And it made me realize, she put this conditioning, like, no, you should come. And then it was just like, actually, when I actually think about it and I don't change his belief, he's right for him. And do it while you're young. You won't always have the time. If you have an extra $500 and you can travel, you might not have an extra $500 that you can spend on travel. You might not have the time. 2020 could work as a powerful lesson. If everyone knew 2020 was going to happen the way it did, I guarantee you half the world would have quit their jobs in 2019 and started building their own business and traveling.
Right.
But we just assume that we can do it later.
Yeah. And one thing I really take with me closely now is that you can always make more money, but you cannot get back time. And so time should be your most valuable asset right there. Is to just remind yourself every day that time is precious because you're not getting it back. So you might as well do what you love now.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite quotes, I don't have the tattoo yet, but it's Memento Mori. Memento Mori is Latin for remember your death. And when you find something that it's almost like the hack is to find something you die for. Like if I died traveling, like I tell my mom, like, no, I died with a smile on my face. Unless I was like hijacked by pirates or something like that. But still, I was like, that was a cool adventure. But so it's like find something that you would die for and then live for that.
Ooh, that's deep. I actually had to take a deep breath when you said that because I really felt that. Yeah. I like that. And you have that tattooed on you said?
I'm getting it tattooed. It's called Memento Mori. It's Latin and they print it on a coin.
Wow.
And it stands for remember your death. So
really cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Important to remember because it makes you look at things different. And when you accept it, that can happen at any time and not sometime in the projected future. And when you start to realize that everyone who died today had plans for today. Everyone who died today had plans that they wanted to do in 6 months. So there's no difference if we passed away today. We'd have plans and we'd have things. Wow. And when you realize that, you're just like, what am I waiting for? Like anything you do that is not making you happy, what are you doing? You can die at any time. Not that you should fear death, but it can happen at any time and truly understand that you can have things taken away from you. Like study people who are old. It's the regrets that kill you. It's not the bad decisions. Everyone here will make bad decisions and I make more bad decisions than anyone. I fail, I lose money, I lose time. I make mistakes all the time, but I don't regret any of my mistakes that I've made. What I regret is that I didn't do things sooner, is that I didn't open my mind sooner. I didn't have access. It wasn't possible, but everyone listening to this podcast, and as they continue to listen to you and your journey, then they know this information. So now they're choosing what they do from a conscious perspective of knowing that I know that I can have the life that I want, but I'm choosing. And they need to understand that you're choosing to stay in the same place. You're choosing to stay unhappy. And this is something that is really eye-opening when you really look at it, because that's basically what you're doing. It feels safe, but they're choosing it. And all of our decisions in life are based off of pleasure and pain. It's based off of this will bring me pleasure, or they're based off of avoidance of pain. So people will choose this because it's pleasurable or because it will avoid pain. So people will choose a life of avoiding pain, which is uncertainty, which is one of your superpowers, actually. I acknowledge you on that. I love people who have uncertainty at the top, because anyone who has certainty at the top, there's nothing really certain. So you're leading with something that is never true. Like someone whose number one thing is safety. Like you're never really safe. When are you safe enough? When do you have enough money? These things come to you all the time. I can tell you personally, you think like, once I have this amount of money, I'll be fine. But it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened for me throughout when I had no money to when I was pro athlete to now. Now there's just other things. Now you have more money. So now if you were scared to, like, I only have $100, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I don't want to give it away. If you're not going to give $1 of your $100 away to people who need it, you're not going to give $1 million of your 100 million. If you're scared, worried about where the money's going to come from next, for example, then when you make more, it's just going to be the same and amplified, like what Bali does. You're going to feel it the same. And it's something to realize. And if you don't, and so someone who is leading with certainty and all these things, it's just going to be amplified, you know. And how are you going to be successful at something if you need to be certain of it? When can you ever be certain enough? When can you ever have enough money? When can you have enough friends? When can you have enough likes on your Instagram? When can you have enough subscribers? Doesn't happen ever.
So true. So true. We look so much for external validations when we ourselves alone are worthy enough just from being alive. We don't need anything outside of us.
Exactly. That's beautiful. Just being alive. Like
just being alive.
it.
I mean, isn't that like a amazing gift and in itself? Shouldn't that make you feel so fucking worthy just by being
privilege.
alive? That is a privilege. It is a privilege. And you know, we don't know what was before this or what's after this, but all we should know is that right here and now there's so much to be grateful for. Like, we can just piggyback right on that topic real quick, but there's so much to be grateful for. This world
100%.
is so beautiful, and that's one of the reasons why I personally, as well as you, want to see it so much, is because there is so much more out there than what we've been brought up to believe or that we've only seen. So yeah, man, it's just, travel has been so monumental in my life, as I'm sure it has been for you. And I was just curious. I mean, I think I might know. I could be wrong, but just from watching your video, I was just wondering if you can think of a place where you had a transformational, maybe spiritual experience, and why. Like, was there a certain place where you were just like, your whole world opened up to a whole new perspective?
Oh yeah, Malta.
Okay,
Malta.
I wasn't actually expecting that.
Yeah, you probably thought Poland.
Poland, yeah, because you even wrote a book on it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Poland changed my life, and it really got me to a point. And like I say, every level has a devil. Ooh. So we're always are fighting.
Yeah. I've never heard of that. I'm gonna write that down. What'd you say?
Every level has a devil.
That's so good.
Yeah, so it's a lot of times that once we've beaten the devil on one level, the devil that we're worried about is the devil we're fighting now. And when the stage gets bigger, that devil is bigger. And so if I look back and I really think about it, like I could say, oh, it was going to Barcelona, or it was when I first stepped off the plane in Australia for the first time to live there away from my family, or when I got to college and I did that, that was huge. But Malta was the big one because I already had done everything I wanted to do. And so that really forced me to look in the mirror of, we have these dreams and you set your life up, and it's something that you're going to have to do as well in a few months. Of, you're going to realize like, oh my gosh, because I just like semi-retired from basketball. I've been traveling for about 7 months now, and I'm making videos and everything was great. And like I say, what you're gonna have to do in a few months is you're gonna be like, wait, you have a dream of what your life can be like, and you finally made that dream possible, and you've exceeded that dream. So the question that needs to be asked is, well, once I've exceeded my dream and I'm living in this magical dream, what do my dreams look like now? Can I even dream them now? Like, is this it? And when I was in Malta on this island, and the whole story of Malta is I was waiting for my sister to come visit me in Barcelona, and I got the dates mixed up and I flew back early, and I had 10 days until she came. And I was like, I don't want to wait here, and I don't want to go back to France or south of Spain because she might want to do that. So I was like, I was laying in my hospital bed. I was like, let's see where I can go. I'll just fly somewhere tomorrow, see if there's a good flight. And I looked at Skyscanner, which is the app that I was on every day before when I was traveling, and especially full-time travel, because then you save so much money because you just go where the flights are cheaper. Yeah. You know, so I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a flight tomorrow to a place called Malta. It's full of rocks, but it looks cool. It's only $30. I was like, okay, I'll book it. And so I booked that flight, and I got to Malta, and it was amazing. The people were so nice, and it was an island, and it was just like, I found like my place, my hostel with the food across the street. I'm like, this is perfect. And I'm waiting for my sister, so I have this like built up energy and joy. And the biggest monumental moment for me, spiritual moment, was I was there and I was walking along there's a place when you get to, I think it's called St. Joe's, or I can't remember the name, St. Joseph. It's like a little area where all the tourists are. And you walk along the water or St. Julian is the name, St. Julian's. And you walk along the port and it's lit up, it's beautiful. And I was walking there and I just was like, man, I've done all this stuff. Like, what do I want to do next? And then everything in life is about the questions we ask ourselves. So I started to ask myself a different question, like, well, what is holding me back from seeing what is in the future? Like, to see what I want next. Why can't I see that? Like, what is the energetic block right now? And as I walked up and down that path, I did about 3 or 4 nights, and I just was like, I need to fix my bond with my family. Like, I was like, this is something I need to fix. I need to speak to all of my family members, let them know I love them, I care about them, I want to have a closer relationship with them, because I'm living I'm doing what I want. I'm loving every moment of my life, and I can do and be where I want to. It's not a problem. So now it's like, well, what's more important than all that? I was like, well, my family, the relationship I have with them, the relationship that I have close with people. And it was in that moment I called each of my family members throughout that next week. I got a big family. And I called them all and I just was like, I love you. And I know I've been gone and traveling, but I just want to have a closer bond with you. And I came from a place of non-reactivity, of just letting them know that I care about them and I want them to know that I'm not someone who's just taken off and I'm trying to avoid them. Because what you'll realize is sometimes when you're traveling or doing things and moving, especially if you're moving really quickly and moving through a lot of different friends, a lot of different places, is that you're compensating for something, that you're avoiding some kind of pain.
Right.
And so I just was like, I need to reach out to my family and say that. And it was at that moment, it was monumental, because as I did it, I had this sense of freedom and relief and just like this inner peace that I had, and realizing that was so important. I don't think that you can have a bitter relationship to someone close to you and thrive and reach your full potential. You can become a millionaire, you can have all the things you want, but there'll always be something missing because you're hiding a piece of your heart. And I was like, if I can open my heart to people who I don't know, I was like, I need to make sure that my family knows that I'm always there for them. Not that the relationship was bad with them, but I was like, they need to know more. Yeah. And that was the huge spiritual moment for me. And that led to me going home early and surprising my family, actually, for Christmas, and having that conversation. I had the pre-conversation, and when I got home, I had talked with them, and I said, well, it's going to be different now. So I'm going to come home every 3 months, and I'll come home for maybe a week or two, and then I'll go back to traveling, because now I don't have basketball where I'm gone for 10 months out of the year. And that's when 2020 hit. Yeah. And I can think, if I didn't have that conversation with them, and I wouldn't have followed that inner voice, that intuition that's always lead us in the right way, I would have had so much sadness this past Christmas. I would have had so many things I didn't say in person, not knowing when I could go back to the States and leave. And that was huge for me, because that opened up the door and brought so much peace. And that's when I came to a realization that I'm not running from anything anymore. I am me, and this is who I am. And when you spend your life on the run, you get so used to it. But like a prisoner on the run, it gets tiring after a while looking over your shoulder. But the second you hear you're free, there's an energy. You don't have to look over your shoulder. You don't have to look for that next thing that bring you peace. And that would have been the biggest moment.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
And I think that is such a beautiful way to almost end this episode. And I have one more question for you. And I think it's important because we talked a lot about, spirituality and how it involves with travel, or how it intertwines. And if you could tell someone who's never solo traveled before, and they're afraid to, and you could tell them 3 things to actually do that thing, what would they be?
If I could tell them 3 things, I don't think I would tell them 3 things. I would just tell them 1 thing. I would tell them to just go do it. Because the first step has to be easy with anything we do in life. And a lot of times, most of your listeners, most likely like us, are probably overthinkers. And you can read as much books as you want on solo travel. You can read as much books as you want on Bali. You can read as much books on learning French or whatever it is. you'll learn 1,000 times more by doing it.
Mhm.
And that's the only way. It has to be, I guess what I would say is take the massive, scary action. That's what I'd say. That's something that I tell everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it kind of, are you basically saying kind of like feel the fear and do it anyway type of thing?
Yeah, feel the fear and do it anyway. Whatever phrase you have to say, but just do it. It's like most people spend their life standing next to the cold water pool, not jumping in, as if waiting an extra 20 minutes next to the pool and you know the water's cold is going to make it easier. It's going to be cold when you jump in there. You can do as much meditation and thinking and reading. You have to jump in. That's it. It's the only way. Like I can do a whole masterclass for 6 hours about how to jump into a cold water pool or take a cold shower, but you'll never learn more than you will by just getting in the cold shower. And it starts with just taking little scary actions. Take a cold shower, for example. And I guess actually, technically, what I would say if I had 3 things, I would tell them to work hard, be brave, and don't forget to smile. Like,
Yes. And if
yeah,
anyone doesn't
that's
know, that's Luke's tagline at the end of every single YouTube video, and it makes me happy every time he says it.
Yeah, I would say that, and I would tell them to take the scary action first, but then I would say work hard, be brave, don't forget to smile. I would tell them to say that to themselves all the time, because you have to work hard. And I thought about changing that to working smart, but working hard, and I will probably change the tagline to working smart, but you have to figure it out. Like you can work hard, but if it's not working, you have to change it.
Yeah.
Change the approach, pivot to something. And then I'd say be brave, because you have to have courage. Without courage, nothing is done. The greater the achievement that you've seen someone accomplish, the greater risk they've taken. The more, like for me, everyone looked at being a pro athlete as a dream job. Well, it wasn't so much in the sense of everything was perfect. Like we trained an hour and a half in the morning, 2 hours at night. That was my life for 10 months out of the year for 12 years. And 7 a.m. when I'm tired, I don't feel like getting up, I still had to. So I had to be brave to do that. And people think that it just is easy, and it requires courage to be away from your family. It requires that. And more importantly, when you start to apply that, you're able to do that at the next level where it's really required. There's certain fears and things that there's a certain level you can get to in life without sacrificing things. You can get to a certain level without being brave, but there's a certain level you will never cross in your life if you're not brave. I'm sorry, Tracy, you would never be able to go to California if you weren't brave. That required being brave. That required all the feelings and facing yourself and looking in the mirror like, are we doing this? Yes, we're doing this. And it required all of that. That doesn't take the same thing if I say, hey, Tracy, try another restaurant today. Not the same. So I would say that, to be brave. And then I'd say, don't forget to smile, because we go through life and we're so hard on ourselves, and people beat themselves up. They focus on their mistakes. They worry about what's going to happen, what things can go wrong. And they worry about other people and how they will be perceived. And what they do is they forget to smile. They forget to be compassionate on themselves. They forget to not feel guilty for taking a day off. They forget to not feel guilty about having a cheat meal. And they beat themselves up. And if you just look in the mirror and you smile for 10 seconds, you'll see that life will change really quickly. And you'll find yourself maybe laughing in front of that mirror. And then maybe you start crying in front of that mirror. And then you just are standing there and you're just like, what on earth? And that's the power within you.
All right, folks. Well, you heard it here. Yeah, those couldn't actually, that was the perfect question to ask you in particular, because those are 3 mottos you live by, and it's perfect. So yeah. Say it one more time.
Work hard, be brave, don't forget to smile.
Don't forget to smile. Well, thank you so much, Luke. It was such an honor having you on this episode, and I really appreciate it. So just say one more time where people can find you online.
Yeah, I'm kind of on everything: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, LukeLifeCharms. Reach out to me anytime. And yeah, I appreciate you having me here. Thank you guys for listening. Go and take the massive scary action to all your listeners. Stop reading and researching about it. Take the scary action. You'll learn more from everything else you're doing.
Because if it feels good, you're going in the right direction, right?
Boom. There you go. That's what she said.
Okay. I'm gonna consider if I'm gonna keep that or not. I'm gonna look back at this later on and I'll let you know. I love it. Well, thanks again, Luke. Talk to you soon.
My pleasure. See ya.
Okay.
I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm just back from the gym now. Hope you got something out of that interview. Like I say, a lot of those things I hadn't talked about before in the past, and you know, it kind of gives a backstory, and I think it's so important, you know, for all of you who watch my videos who are trying to share your story and maybe you haven't had a chance to get in any of my programs, or you haven't been able to get a hold of me. I get a big influx of people writing me, but I hope that you've had time to look back at my beginnings when I started sharing my story and how uncomfortable it was for me, how scared it was for me. And kind of in interviews like this, we kind of get to go back into the Luke and the person that you saw before. Because a lot of times we try to look and try to be like someone where they're here, but more importantly, what were they doing when they were where you were? Or maybe you're above them. What were they doing then? Like how does that work out? And I love, like I say, I love empowering and being there for you. So I just hope you got something out of today's interview. Tracy, if you're watching this, thank you so much for having me. And if you guys like little interviews and podcast things like that, let me know. I do a lot, well, not millions, but I do a lot of different collaborations with people for their channel, for their podcast. And if you'd like me to start sharing some of it, more of it on here, leave me a comment, let me know. But in the meantime, I can't even hold the camera up because my arms are tired from getting back from the gym. But I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And until we speak again, probably soon, really soon, of course we speak soon. In the meantime though, everyone always remember to work hard, be brave, and don't forget to smile. Ciao.